The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has released its composite manufacturers Chief Executive Officer's Confidence Index for the second quarter of 2021. The index indicates an increase to 52.9 points, which is about 3.8 points increase from the first quarter, moving up to pre-COVID-19 levels. But despite the visible improvements, the manufacturers still say access to foreign exchange has remained the #1 challenge for operators during the period. The MCCI is an index created by MAN to gauge the change in quarterly pulsation of manufacturing activities to changes in the macroeconomic ambience and government policies. It is a barometer used by MAN to garner the perceptions of CEOs of manufacturing companies on changes in the economy. Well, let's examine the factors that affect the improvement in the manufacturing confidence and what areas needs to be checked for better improvement. Joining me now via Zoom is Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, is Dr. Segun Ajayi-Kadir. It's good to see you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Thank you for making me a doctor.
Yes, so when I saw this report yesterday, very voluminous document, and I tried to read through, I would like to take us through the fundamentals. What did you look at? What? Let us understand how you came about all of this document. But there was a slight improvement. Maybe you will tell us how you came about that too.
Thank you very much again for having me.
All right.
Since 2020, we have been gauging the manufacturer CEO's perception of the economy, particularly in terms of the macroeconomic situation and also how the sector is reacting to government policies.
Okay, we'll try to reconnect with Dr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri there to take us through the basics of the MCCI, what challenges their network and all of that. But we'll try to make sure that we connect with him because this topic remains very, very, very important. Let's take a break, and when we return, we should be having Dr. Kadri back. Stay with us.
In Nigeria.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Yeah, thank you for staying with us. I have Dr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri back. Now, Dr. Kadri, I was saying you should take us through the fundamentals that brought us to all of the conclusions we see in this document.
Okay, thank you. Let me say again that the MCCI is a report we have been issuing since 2020 and even before 2020. And then what we try to gauge is how the manufacturing sector is reacting to government policies and how the macroeconomic environment has impacted on manufacturing business. So what we have noticed in the second quarter of 2021 is that there has been an improvement in the economy. Like we noted before, the first quarter we had 49 points performance, but in the second quarter is 52.5 points performance. So essentially, we are seeing that there has been a reduction in the decline that we are having in quite a number of areas, including capacity utilization, use of local raw materials, sourcing of forex, and so on and so forth. So even though we have not noticed the kind of improvement we want, but there is certainly an improvement in the second quarter over the first quarter.
Now, also the GDP growth figures for the second quarter was very good, 5.01%, and the manufacturing sector also fared better. What are the direct or what imports is this, or what has this impacted? What impact has this had on the sector directly?
Yeah, I think that this is an indication that the manufacturing sector in Nigeria is resilient. In spite of all the challenges, we have dusted off the limitations that COVID-19 brought upon us, and then the various incentives that government has sustained, particularly trying to insulate the sector from the adverse effect of the lockdown, has started to yield good fruits. We have seen manufacturers resume the manufacturing process. We have seen situations where we have been able to leverage on the improved utilization of locally sourced raw material because our international logistics system has not fully resumed. And with this second wave of COVID-19, we're seeing some restrictions are beginning to surface. So it means that we have built resilience over time, and we have not allowed the challenges to overwhelm us. What this calls for is that going forward, the government should focus on addressing the challenges that we have continued to mention, because it shows that we are a responsive sector that would ensure that government sacrifice in terms of meeting the challenges are not in vain.
Okay, DG, if you can hear me, I'm looking at, before we go to the challenges, because a lot of challenges, of course, have been identified, and some are just the same ones we talk about most times. What's the level of patronage? We talk so very much about buy Nigeria, save the Naira, and all of that. How well would you say, even government, are we taking advantage of local content? Are we buying made in Nigeria goods at the moment? How are the manufacturers faring with regards to this? Dr. Kadri, can you hear me? Okay, I was talking about patronage now from government and, of course, the private sector. How well would you say government and members of the private sector, how are they patronizing manufacturers in Nigeria? We keep talking about buy Nigeria so that we can save the Naira. Is that playing out? Okay, Dr. Kadri, I think we'll try to connect you via phone so that we could hear you clearly, because I think
any major improvement in that respect. However, I think Nigerians are beginning to, probably also because of the dwindling disposable income, are beginning to respond more favorably to buying made in Nigeria. We have said that what is important is for government, which is the major spender in the economy, to enforce the Executive Order 003, which will compel ministry, departments, and agencies of government to buy made in Nigeria. And in contracts, it should be stipulated in the contract that we sign that we should be where it needs to do more in terms of deliberately putting in measures to support the efforts of raw material research and development on its own, Man is constantly engaging with them, and we're actually in the process of implementing a course of action that should see specific focus on areas where we know there are low-hanging fruits where we can easily upscale our sourcing of raw materials. So we continue to say that heavy government involvement in this area is important to drive success.
Two things I would like you to also talk on, DG, is issues around port challenges and, of course, on availability of raw materials. Can we stay a little bit on this? Let us know what the situation is.
Yes, the port remains a challenge, and it's actually something that is
All right, Dr. Kadri, I don't know if you can hear me. All right, I was just talking about port challenges, time to clear containers and cargo clearance at the ports, installing sound trade facilitation equipment at the ports, such as scanners and all of this. We're also looking at issues of port charges, which people keep talking about, removing demurrage from undue delayed clearances. So we like you to speak to this, the port issues and the unavailability of raw materials.
Is the requirement for foreign. Is the requirement for foreign.
All right, we really do apologize for this. We'll have to take another break and we'll come back to you shortly. Stay with us. It's Business Nigeria.
In the month of September, September is United Nations month. How far has the world fared in the set development goals? After a closure occasioned by the raging coronavirus, international flights resumed on the 5th of September 2020. Events of September 11, 2001 reordered global approach to terrorism after the World Trade Center and the Pentagon were brought down in a horrifying terror attack. 20 years after, how far has the world gone in dealing with terrorism? On the 16th, focus shifts to protecting Mother Earth as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer dominates conversations. On September 27, 2003, Nigeria's first satellite was launched into space. 29th of September is marked as World Heart Day, while the 30th is World Maritime Day. Stay with TVC News.
All right, thank you for staying with us. We're still looking at the MCCI released by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and the Director General of MAN has been talking to us despite the network challenges. We're still trying to reconnect, and we have Dr. Kadri again now via phone. Dr. Kadri, so I'll allow you make your point. You were trying to talk about the ports and the raw material issues.
Yes, so thank you. Can you hear me now?
Clearly, yes.
Okay, so what I was saying is that the challenge at the port remains a major one, and that secondly, we are not able to access forex that is needed to procure those raw materials that are not locally available. Even though there has been a CBN policy that has expanded, so to say, the capacity of the money deposit banks to allocate forex. The report we get from our members is that we are yet not able to, one, get easy access to forex, and secondly, having enough to be able to meet our needs. So on the one hand, our capacity to source our raw materials locally is severely limited because of the obvious challenge, around the country. And then for us to source our raw materials from outside of the country, you need to raise from them, you need to get forex. And those remain a challenge despite the CBN recent policy on forex.
Forex issue, very, very worrisome. So all of these efforts, even by the APEC. Now, we've talked about some of these problems. Now, what are the quick wins? What are the solutions? What are the suggestions as the players in the industry, or you want government to pick up in the short term, medium term, and long term?
I think very quickly one can say, taking it in order of how it was prioritized by our members in the MCCI. The first is about forex. We continue to say that there has to be a prioritization of forex allocation to the productive sector, which means that you need to be able to prioritize the allocation to, for instance, the manufacturing sector, where you are able to do so and generate more capacity utilization, expand employment, get revenue for government, and generally get the country to move in the right direction economically. Also, on the high cost of electricity, which came second, I think we have had assurance from NEC that the eligible customer scheme will not be discontinued, but a system where the tariff is skewed against the manufacturers who are heavy users should be reviewed. And of course, you are aware of the recent move to review the tariff upwards. I think that is not what government should be doing at this time. Then the issue of multiple taxes and levies. This has remained a problem in spite of the Joint Tax Board's efforts at ensuring that tiers of government only collect the taxes that they have been empowered to collect. We still have situations where local governments and state governments, as well as federal agencies, especially the regulatory ones, still continue to impose fees and levies at will. This does not go well for our planning. So government should ensure that they rein in these agencies of government so that the sector is not negatively impacted. We also have overregulation. And a more disturbing one is even the one we are having in Lagos, where some individuals raise frivolous allegations against some manufacturers, and they get the police to continuously invite you for interviews and for the defense of things that turn out not to be tenable. But time will have been wasted, resources will also have been wasted. Then, of course, the big one, the port challenge. I think it is clearly important that government has to do something about the port infrastructure. As we enter into the AFCFTA, you cannot operate effectively without an efficient port. The gridlock is still a challenge, and government just has to put its foot down, because all the agencies that are responsible for this delay are government agencies, and they work for the same government. I do not see any reason why government should not be decisive in ensuring that we have an efficient port system. The e-call-up system that was initiated by the past NPA leadership should be made to work. It has worked in other countries, so I don't know why it's not working here. And of course, the old story of poor access to funds, we have continued to call for the recapitalization of the BOI. We also said that there should be credit guarantee for industrial loans from commercial banks, particularly if we are going to be able to take those facilities from outside of the country. There are quite a number of issues, but what is painful is that these are not new issues. These are not new issues. It just requires government determination to put its foot down and say, let us kill these challenges once and for all.
And that will really be the way to go. Dr. Segun Ajayi Kadri, thank you so much for helping us understand this. At least the challenges and the solutions are key, particularly at this time. Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, have been speaking to us there. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.